So welcome to my talk. It's XCom editing save games is still strategy, because in my opinion, it is. So I did this talk already once last year, but as I mentioned previously, I had a couple of issues. Can you hear me all right, everyone? Yeah, cool. I had a couple of issues where computers didn't work and projectors didn't work. Everybody works in IT or knows of technical problems. We tried turning it off and on again. That didn't work. So I thought, right, well, I'll submit it again the next time anybody's due for a talk, right? So here we are. Right, so who am I? I'm Paul. I'm a Hackspace director. I'm a security consultant. I also play games, obviously. I crew quite a lot of conferences in the UK now. But obviously, like everybody else, it's been a while since we've done anything like that because, lockdown and various other things. I'm also a member of Manchester Grey Hats. If any of you are from around Manchester area, we've not done anything for a while, but obviously because of the lockdown and that. But we should start kicking the things back up again soon. So we used to do like talks and workshops and things like that for various things. It's on Twitter, but I forgot to put Twitter handles in here. But if you see me about later on, just come talk to me and I'll give you the Twitter handles. So, why did I do this talk? So, as I mentioned when we all first started coming in, I like old XCOM games. It was the first game I ever played on a real PC, like one of those big beige towers like this, before everybody had RGB and, the rest of it, water cooling pumps, when your tower was this big. You got it from Time or PC World or somewhere like that, and, it came with, like, really weird DOS games, like Theme Park and, XCOM, and what was the other one we got? Firefight, yeah. Like an isometric shooter. But I was full of old games, right? And I wanted to do a talk, excuse me, I wanted to do a talk that was kind of technical and hacking related, but not necessarily in the weeds. Like, I'm sure we've all been to talks where it's like this, like I said, like this is where I got this 0 day in some web framework or, that kind of thing. And those talks are kind of cool, but they're not for everyone. Sometimes they're a bit too technical, so I thought I'd do something where it's a little bit on the technical, but a little bit on the interesting too. So this was the first game I ever played on a real PC, like I said, and I've never actually finished it, because I can see some of you laughing. If you played it, right? It's really hard. So I thought, right, well, it's a strategy game, and, cheating is a strategy. And I know I'm only cheating myself, but, I thought it'd be an interesting project, and if anybody else can benefit from it, then, maybe you can complete it too. I get some tweets late when I get home, you're like, oh yeah, I finished it now, because you help. One thing, because it's an old game, there are quite a few text files online, like there used to be back in the day, where people say, like, if you open up in a hex editor, you can go here and they say you give yourself infinite money. But I kind of did it a little bit of a different way. What I did was I opened the game up, I did various bits and bobs, like I sold all of my stuff to see how much money I had, and then checked what had changed. So that was a very laborious process of going. If any of you work in software and you've ever diffed something when you get a merge conflict, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you got on the one side a stream of text, and on the other side a different stream of text that's almost exactly the same but only a little bit different. And with it being bytes, it's even harder to read because it's not like the words. So I basically spluttered my way through, saving it, loading it, reading, saving, loading, reading, and I started to generate my own notes, and then I checked them against what other people had done. So I thought, that would be an interesting way to do different things. So once I'd done that, I started about writing my own guide to do it. But then I thought, well, why don't I just write it as a program, so that then people can load their save file and they can just patch it without having to fiddle around with any kind of hex editors or out like that. They can just click a button, give you money, click a button, build base stuff, that kind of thing, right? Cool. So as I just said, my ramblings on how I did this, back and forwards, save game editing. I kept the sliding. I did announce that I was going to make the save game during my last talk. I have actually done it now. I did actually stream quite a lot of it on Twitch, but it's mostly just me swearing into a camera They're like, why is that not working? Or, that shouldn't be that. Again, if any of you work in software, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The cool thing as well is, because the first two games are very similar, it will work on the UFO Enemy Unknown game. However, the names won't be the same. And there are slight differences from UFO to TFTD. Some of the aliens and things like that are different. But the money will be the same. The base location stuff's all the same. And that's for version 2. Scope creep and all that kind of thing. Right, so let's get into it. So the basic structure of the save game files, if you can see over here with the pointer, each save game is in its own folder, game_1 through 10. And in each of those is basically a different set of DAT files that hold the data for the save game. Weirdly, if you delete one of these and try and save it, it doesn't like that, because it's all running through DOSBox and stuff, so it kind of works but doesn't. So it tries to save, and then the whole thing crashes out. So don't do that. If you're going to do this, and you're going to play with it yourself, back your saves up first, and then start playing and see what goes where. So as I said, you got each of the save game file numbers correlates to a folder, game 1 through 10. In those, there are 3 files we're going to be looking at in this talk: astore.dat, base.dat, and liglob.dat. So, base.dat is exactly what it sounds like. It's where the base data is stored. liglob.dat is where the money is stored in the first 4 bytes of that file. So that's how you give yourself not infinite money, because it's a 32-bit signed integer. So obviously, once you get past around 2 billion, it flips over and goes into minus money. So you don't want to do that. So the caveat there is, if you edit your save and give yourself the maximum amount of money, don't sell anything, because if you sell it, you're going to run out of money, because it'll flip all the way around. And you can just run the save game editor again, and it'll just patch it back. So it's not really a problem, but you can give yourself infinite money. The other one is the astore.dat, which is where the aliens are stored. So if you've ever played this game, or if you've not, I'll explain. Basically, you have to capture aliens and interrogate them to find out what the plans are. And you capture the higher ranking aliens to get more information, and eventually you have to capture particular aliens at the end to get the end mission. You visit a city called Tleth, which is why the editor's called Telepathy, because, I like puns. So the way you would normally do that is you would have stun guns and stuff like that. Initially, you have it's like a melee weapon that you knock them out with, but you have to get close to them to knock them out. And by doing that, you're going to lose 3 or 4 of your soldiers, because when the aliens turn to shoot, they just kill you. So you can just drop them in with the editor. You can just pick an alien, drop it in, and then it'll be there available for your research. So as I said, the initial plan was to do this as a hex editor, but that's kind of tedious, and working in tech, when something's tedious, you script it. So first things first, we need to give ourselves some money. So the first 4 bytes of the liglob.dat is where your money is stored. But no worries. Weirdly though, it's little endian. Now, if you've ever worked with anything with memory, you know that means that it's backwards, effectively. So we have to flip it round. So instead of it being the larger number at one end, it's at the other end than where you would expect it to be. Initially, what we did was we edited this with a hex editor. Just drop those 4 bytes in, save it, load it, check the thing. But this time we can just do max money. As I said, 2.1 billion is roughly the maximum amount of money you want to put in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a demo. You ready for a demo, everybody? Yeah? Go on. Yeah. Let's hope that you can see this properly. As you can see, here is my pretty little hex editor here, and here is the program running. So, do you want me to do it live? Do you want a live demo, everyone, or do you want a recorded one? I don't mind. I'll do it live. We'll do it live.
That's just a demo, gods.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, it's already gone wrong twice, so let's let me pause that, and we'll do it live. It might pop up music now, so I don't know. Some people get nostalgic. Oh, there you go. We'll skip that bit. So, as you can see, we've got $1. So we go here. We run that, and it maxes out the money. That's a bit loud, that, isn't it? I'm sorry. And I bet this doesn't work now. Just because I tempted the gods, isn't it? And then we load the first demo up. As you can see, we've now got over 2 billion. Now, a lot of you may recognise the name there. If you ever looked at anything with memory, you always do something like this. You spray it full of recognisable characters, and then you open it up and see where that is. Which is what I did here. So now we're going to do the next. I'll close that down actually. While we Yep. Tempted demo gods again. Right. So as you can see, that was a lot easier than finding the right offsets and doing all that nonsense. Just run a button, click, done. So let's get back to the slides. Yeah, cool. So yeah, so the way I structured this as well, I wrote it in Python, as I may have mentioned already. I've done it in like a class-based way. So basically, each of the Savegame files that it edits, each of them has common properties. And obviously, if you've ever done any programming, you can use things that have common properties, and then you just define them as a class, and then you can inherit that class to do later things. So this is how I've done this as an approach. I have a Savegame class which has the mechanism to write the file back to write the memory back to the file so that it patches up top. The loading stuff is all taken care of in the thing. So rather than having to have each of these things implemented again and again in each of the like liglob.py and things like that, each of these they just inherit that stuff from the Savegame file class, and then they just call that function and it'll just do it. Which is, if you've ever done any OOP programming, that's the thing it's good for, is reducing that kind of complexity, because you can just do it once and abstract it in every other place where you use it. It's great. It's dry code. We already did the live demo. So, now we've got all that money. What do we... Can I call this? Now that we've got all the money, what do we want to do now? We want to build some stuff, right? Like, build the facilities, because that's what this game's about. So in the base.dat, we've got a bunch of different things in there. We've got the name, as I mentioned before. We've got stores, which is basically where all the inventory, the equipment is. So effectively, when you recover ships and things like that on the missions, they get stored in your general stores facility. The issue there is obviously that's a finite amount of space. Again, I mentioned if we sell things, we can recover that space back, but then obviously we want to be careful we don't sell too much, because the money will go wrap around in and there'll be negative. There'll be negative numbers again. The other part is as well, we have the layout. Now, I did show you the layout a little bit, but I don't know. I'll show you again in a minute, a bit more detail. It's a grid of 6x6, and then each one of those 6 things is a piece of the facility for your base. However, there are certain differences. So there is a sub-pen, which is where your submarines live. That's split into 4, and it's the only one that's different. So the way that works is you have like the 6x6 grid, and then you can put in the 6x6 grid different values, and then that will show once that's built, it will be in that grid reference, except for the sub pen, which is top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Yeah, I did that the right way around. Yeah. So you have to be careful with that one because it's 4 rather than the 1. So each time you build something, if you do it through the menu, it has a build time. But we've written a function. I'll just clear that off. So we can just build something, we run it, built already. And then the last part is the technicians and the scientists. So as I mentioned before, the game of the game is to kill aliens, capture aliens, research the technology, find out what they're doing, find out where they are, and go kill them. Right? Like every good sci-fi, right? Find them and kill them. I mean, they started it, I guess, but so as you can see, this is the structure I was just talking about here. At the top there, those are all the A's that I was talking about. You recognise them. And then the red part here, that's all the, as I was saying, the different quantities of the various things. The blue and purple bits, those are the base layers I was saying about. So the first one there, in the turquoise, I guess I'd call that, that's the layer of the facilities. And then the purple, dark blue purple one, that's the time, like the time amounts. And then the last two there is the scientists and the technicians. So you can only have 255 of those per base. But you don't really need 255 technicians when you can just drop things into your inventory, because then you never have to build anything, right? You can just go, right, I'll re-edit it, add that in, done. Scientists are a little different. The last time I did this talk, somebody did ask me, well, why do you need scientists if you can edit a save file? Can't you just mark all the research done? I'm like, yeah, but where's the fun in that? Right? You got to play it a little bit. You can't just go, right, I'll go to the end screen. Yeah, I finished it. You got a bit of struggle in there, I guess. There you go, see? So, a bit more detail on the base. As you can see, it's all handily labelled there. Double F is for the empty space. In UFO, that's dirt. This is open ocean. I think it's, if you hover over it, it says. And then, as I mentioned before, you can see this one here has got a build time on it. So the idea is you start building, you wait. It's not 12 real days though, like, don't worry. It's not Eve, you don't have to wait real time. Once you start the build, you run the 12 days or whatever. Some things like 28 days as well, actually. Quite a long time. And then it's built. And then there are some things, for example, you need, at the end of every month, you have like, one of the things you have is like an NMC lab. It's for mind control stuff. And at the end of every month, you can put your soldiers in training. If you never played it, I'm explaining, I guess, a bit. And then every month you have them in there, and each month you can see if they've improved, or if they've not, you can kick them out, put new ones in, stuff like that. Right, so as I said, it takes 13 days to build that one, and if you look just there, you can see 0x0D, which is the hex number 13. So we can set that to 0, and then it'll be built. Insta-build, like this. We might do that as a live demo in a minute, though, but we're going to wait till the next live demo where God Stingy comes up. Right. Yeah. Okay. So as I said about the stores as well, the stores is actually 202 bytes long, but not all of that is valid data. If you start editing towards the end here, you start getting some garbled things in your stores, like it comes up with like mission names and things like that, which you don't want. So helpfully, when I did the stores sort of class, we only deal with the valid stuff. So you can just you can create a class of whatever the object is. Like, so if it's a torpedo launcher, you just create a new torpedo launcher with a quantity and then just drop it in. And then, as I mentioned before, we've got the staff. 255 is the max. Ideally, you probably want 250 because then you can build labs out. Because each lab can only handle 50 scientists. So when you're building your base layout, you need to be mindful of that. So 5 labs will be 250, and then you don't have any sort of leftover that aren't doing anything, and they can research things relatively quickly. Right, so we're going to do another demo. Live demo gods again. This time we're going to be editing some code too. Okay. How's everybody doing? I'm not talking too fast. I realise I talk quite fast when I'm doing things. Is everybody following? Anybody need me to go over anything? You know? I mean, I can. I've got an hour. Although you guys probably want to get like a drink or something because it's quite warm in here. Right. So, what we're going to do is we're going to. Sorry. Oh dear. Yeah. Thank you very much. Right. You can see that, yeah? There we go. See? Glad you're looking. So as you can see, the name is recognizable but wrong, and then this is the state. That's the standard base layout, right? So you get 3 subpens for your first base, because you get 2 with shoot the submarines down and 1 with the soldiers in to go pick stuff up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to edit something. I have to lean down while I read this because it's very small. Oh, nope, that's the wrong button. Oh, Vim. And then we edit it again. Oh, that didn't work, did it? Yep. It's Python for you. It wouldn't be a live demo if nothing went wrong, would it? There we go. Right, cool. So now we reload this save game right here. And as you can see, we've changed the name. It's now High SteelCon. We have not built anything yet, so we'll do that in a minute. But if we look in our base information, we've now got 250 scientists. I mean, they're doing nothing right now, but what they're going to be doing in a second is researching things. So this is the research thing I was talking about before. So these are these are the things you start off with researching. Don't bother with any of those. Well, I don't. I never use them. But we're going to drop some aliens and things in a minute. But we're going to continue with the slideshow for a second. Again, I'm going to close that down. Yep. No. Nope, don't do that. Oops. Right. And we're back. So as you saw, we could edit the base data itself, and it's fairly easy to sort of recognise how we've edited it, change the name, and drop some scientists in there. They can research our things later. So the next thing we're going to do is talk about the aliens. Now, if you've ever played this game, you know that there are certain types of aliens you'll experience on certain missions, and some you'll only encounter later in the game. Here is a handy little guide of which ones are valid. This was if you were using the hex editor, then you would know which ones to do, and then you'd know what to edit. But because we're super cool, we've written a program to do this, so we don't need to do any of that. We can just, again, create an object that's an alien type dot whatever the rank we need, and if it's a valid rank, it will create that as a valid rank, and then you can just drop it in. I'm not going to show a lot of the code because, again, I'm trying to keep it a little bit lighter on the technical, but it is on I pushed it up to GitHub this week, so if any of you are interested in looking through it and maybe making some commits, you can get the repo at the end. As I said, to get to the end, you need to capture live aliens. You need to capture particular ones, and particular high-ranking ones. If you've ever played this game, lobstermen are the ones that you have to capture, and I can see some grimaces when I mention lobstermen. Yep. They're notoriously hard to kill. They take loads of hits, and then even if you stun them, they can wake back up and kill you with melee, which not a lot of the aliens do. So when you get a mission with them, you're like, oh dear, I better be careful here. But we're taking all that part out. We don't have to do any of that. We can just drop them in, just regularly, just like pop. Which is what we're going to do now, in another live demo. Da, da, da. I should have just kept it running, but like you can't mute these old games, so you know you probably won't be able to hear me talking over that because actually it's going to pick it up the microphone, isn't it? Oh, hang on. Don't worry, I'll let you see that at the end. Right. So as before, we've edited our base, our money. So what we're going to do now, we're going to drop some extra facilities in there, and we're going to drop some aliens in there. Oh. Oh. Sorry about this. Mine's 78. But you all hate watching people scroll through code, don't you? It's infuriating.
Yeah.
I was checking you were all watching. Yeah. I'll get that right once, I promise. Right, so now we've done a couple of things there. As you can see, I've left debug statements in for the moment, which is what all of these are, so that I know that it actually did those things. Like it dropped the soldier in, it dropped the lobsterman in, and it built the things. So if we reload this now, you can see we've got a cool new alien containment facility there, and some more labs here so our scientists can do some work on the aliens that we've now magically captured, which show up in the research projects now. So you can see here, you've got like an Aquatoy navigator, soldier, a lobsterman commander, a deep one terrorist, and a navigator. So those are various different ranks and races of different aliens. So the deep one terrorist is a terrorist unit which you see on the terrorist missions and the shipping container missions, and you need those early in the game because there's a bug in the actual game where you get to a certain point, you can't research certain things anymore, and one of those things is the armor, and you need to kill a deep one to get that armor. So it's really useful to be able to drop that in straight away and get it done before you reach the point where you can't do it anymore, and then you have to start your whole game again, which, if you've ever played this game, it's a bit annoying. Right, so basically I'll show you how the research works, right? So we drop our scientists in. Back in the day they didn't know what a box was to type, so you had to just press and hold a button for 40 minutes. But that'll do 100, right? So as I was saying, so look, already with our 100 scientists, we're really, really quick on the research there. And as I was mentioning before about the different timescales, you can just click 1 day here. Like I said, you don't have to wait a real day. You just click that. There you go. It changes 1 day to 1 second rather than 5 seconds, which is the default. And there we go. There's our alien. Look at him. Big baddie there. But then that unlocks different things for us, you see. So now we have Alien Origins. As I was saying, you got to interrogate aliens to make sure you can tell what they're doing. But then the MC lab, that was what I was talking about, where you build that and then you can train the people in the mind control stuff. What you don't want to do is not have them trained when you get to later missions, because the aliens have mind control too, and they will kill you. Right. Let's just save that, so then we don't have to research that again, because we already did it. Here we are. Abandon game. I know it says DOS, but it's a Mac, so it's not really DOS. Right, and then we go back to presentation. Alright, so yeah. Oh, no. So what next? So that's basically the ins and outs of the process of designing the Savegame editor. I had a couple of issues with things like writing back to, once I'd read out the file and converted it into an editable format, namely integers, because each of them is 250, 0 to 255, because they're all bytes. Basically just replace those bytes with different bytes, and then when I tried to write it back, there was a load of times where it was like, oh no, you can't do that because you've done something wrong, but then you're having to look through the actual file that you've saved because you're like, where is it wrong? So you'd have like, for example, for the way I did the bases, because it's a 6x6 grid, I split it up into a list of 6 lines of 6, obviously. So when I tried to write it back, one of the problems I had was it was writing the index as well. So I had, instead of it going across in lines, it went 1 and then the 6 bytes, and then 2 and then the 6 bytes. But you couldn't really see it without having them side by side, and it was a bit of a pain to debug, because on the one hand I've got a mess of binary characters, and on the other hand I've got a different mess of binary characters, and I'm going across counting, well this one should be 36, and getting to like 30 and then losing count and having to go back in. It's a nightmare. But yeah, as I said, I tried to keep it a little bit light on the actual technical sort of deep dive, pun intended. But if you guys want to check it out, it is on GitHub. Maybe you can get yourself a new Hacktoberfest t-shirt this year. Yeah, I'll okay your pull requests if you want. Yeah. I want to do some refactoring because there's some things I'm not happy with, but I thought, perfect is the enemy of complete, and I had a limited time to get this done because I decided, I'm going to write the actual editor this time, and did that in maybe 2 weeks. I'm not bragging. It was a bad idea. But if any of you been to uni, I mean, I'm sure you all went to school and you left your homework to the last minute. I still do it now. The other thing I want to do, obviously, is a CLI ASCII art, right? Because what's the CLI tool without ASCII art? It might as well not even have like a name, like a cool vulnerability name or something. I'll probably do that in Rich, rather than try and use Tkinter to do some. I hate Tkinter. If any of you ever worked with it to try and write GUIs in Python, it's awful. Most people, what they do instead is they write their app as an API, and then use Flask or something to write a web front end for a desktop app. Because it's just garbage. But yeah. So these are some references. Obviously, if you want to buy this game, I think I was talking to a couple of people at the pub last night. This game is only £10 on Steam in the pack. There's the first 2, Apocalypse, which is alright as well. We don't talk about Interceptor or Enforcer, though. Those were absolute hot garbage. Enforcer was a first-person shooter, which, if you ever played an RTS game, it's not really first-person or shooter. But at the time, everybody was doing shooters, and it was dead popular. So let's get on. Let's do one, right? And it was awful. But yeah. So my GitHub is there, and some socials and things. And I'll tell you what now. I will let you see the opening credits. You're in for a treat of 90s CGI 3D. I hope you're all ready for this. And no, I've completely lost where it is. I promise this isn't my first time using a computer. It may look like it.
Oh.
Here we go. You're ready for this. Right in the middle of the screen. I'll move the mouse so you can enjoy it properly. And I'll take questions after this as well. That won't make any sense if you never watched it, played the first game. You can see it alright though, right? I'm talking through it. Taking you back, yeah?
Open ocean doors.
Stand by.
Deploy Barracuda 01.
Barracuda 01 launched.
Maintain radio contact.
Barracuda 01 to base. Approaching Hyperion. Or at least what's left of her. I'm going out there. We'll take a look.
Okay, Jake, be careful.
Airlock clear. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Glorious 90s CGI, right?
Jake. Jake. You read me, Jake. Jake. Jake, come in.
Bet you all want to play it now, though, eh? Well, thank you for sort of being very patient with me and listening. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
How long did it take to dip all the stuff all the time?
We'll not answer that one. It was a while. Basically, I just put music on, and you know, you can just zone out. It was like once I got into it, it's quite soothing. You know. Oh, sorry. The question was, how long did it take to diff it? Right. I forgot I have to do that, don't we, for when we're talking. Yeah, it was a while. But then once I got most of it done, I kind of knew where things were, and I was like, right, well, this is why I only focused on the 3 things, because there are other things that I'll maybe might add in later. Like, for example, you can edit the soldiers' data. Now, I don't know if you've ever played the game, but one of the things you can edit is their accuracy, because if you've ever played it, you know they are very, very inaccurate, especially when you need them to shoot something. Which, I mean, obviously is when you're going to need the accuracy, right? But if you come up and there's like 3 aliens, like, I better get one of these, otherwise I'm dead, you're missing. There's a problem. Because everything's, old and nothing was checked properly, what can happen is if you edit the accuracy, for example, to be 100%, and they get an accuracy bonus, it'll overflow. And then they will miss everything. Because they will have negative % accuracy. So, there's a few things that left for me to do, as well as some refactor work, as I said. I'm not happy with exactly how it is, but, sometimes you've got to draw a line in the sand and go, that's version 1. Everything else is scope creep. I want to check, so when the build comes on and you basically, you can, like I said, like with the sub pen, because it's 4, I want to check that I'm not building over something else. And if I am, I want it to come back and say, no, we can't. Or, do you want to? Because this is going to go. And I want to make a pretty little TUI. Like I said, I might use Rich for that, because you can do emojis, and then I can have a little box with the alien like emoji at the top, and you can see. And it'll be dead cool. Maybe I'll do that again as another talk, but who knows. Any other questions? Yeah?
You mentioned that there was some armor that after a certain amount of time playing the game, you could no longer unlock. Did you get anywhere working out why that happened? If you could maybe reverse that?
So the question was, based on a bug about the armor, after a certain point you can't unlock it anymore. Is there a way you can reverse that and patch that out? I didn't research that yet, because this was more about because I want to play the game and win before I start fixing it, right? Because it is a 30-year-old game, and I know we're all used to working on legacy systems and cobbling around the monkey patch and things like that. But no, the answer is no, not yet, but maybe later. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much. I guess you can all escape and go get a drink, because it's very hot in here, isn't it? The aircon's on or anything like that. And I hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for coming.